Okay, let's pull back the curtain on something pretty foundational in computer vision. We're talking about the algorithm that first taught our cameras how to spot a human face in a jumble of pixels.
You've seen it a million times, right? You pull out your phone, point it at your friends, and almost instantly, little yellow boxes just snap right onto their faces. It feels like total magic, but it's actually some really brilliant computational detective work.
And what's really wild is that the trick that made all this possible, it isn't some huge modern AI model. Nope, it's an algorithm that dates all the way back to 2001, created by Paul Viola and Viola-Jones. The amazing part is, it was designed to be so efficient it could run in real time on the kind of clunky, low-power digital cameras we had back then. And that's what makes this story so cool.
So to really appreciate just how genius their solution was, we first have to wrap our heads around the massive scale of the problem they were up against. It was, and I'm not exaggerating, a computational nightmare.
See, a computer doesn't see a picture of your family. It sees a giant grid of numbers. For a simple black and white photo, every single pixel is just a number from 0, which is pure black, to 255, pure white. Your face, the background, the tree behind you, it's all just numbers. So the million-dollar question is, how in the world do you teach a machine to find the very specific pattern of a human face inside that chaotic ocean of data? I mean, where would you even start?
Well, the most obvious way, the brute force way, would be to just check everywhere. You take a small window, slide it across the image 1 pixel at a time, and at each spot you'd ask, is this a face? Then you do it all over again with a slightly bigger window, and again for every single possible size and position.
And just how many things would you have to check? Well, get ready for this. In a teeny tiny 24 by 24 pixel window, the algorithm would have to look at over 160,000 possible features, and that's in an area smaller than your thumbnail.
Yeah, that's just an insane number of calculations for one tiny little patch of an image. Trying to do that for a whole picture, in real time? Forget it. It's completely impossible. You'd need a much smarter way. You'd need a shortcut.
And this is where the Viola-Jones algorithm makes its grand entrance. It didn't solve the problem with more power. It solved it with 3 incredibly clever ideas that all work together to make the impossible, well, possible.
It was a 3-part masterstroke. First, they totally reimagined what a feature even is. Second, they came up with a brilliant math trick to calculate those features at lightning speed. And third, they built a smart filter that was really good at being lazy and not wasting time.
All right, let's break down idea number 1. Instead of looking for something complex like an actual nose or an eyeball, the algorithm looks for these super simple patterns called Haar-like features. The whole idea is that human faces all share some basic patterns of light and dark. For instance, your eye region is almost always darker than your upper cheeks, right? This feature just compares the brightness of those 2 areas. If there's a big difference, hey, you might be looking at an eye region.
Now these Haar features are a fantastic idea, but there's still a big problem. We still have to check for over 160,000 of them. And even with simple math, adding up all the pixels in all those rectangles is still way too slow. They needed another trick.
And that trick, this is the secret sauce of the whole thing. The integral image. Before the algorithm does anything else, it does one quick pass over the picture and creates this special map. On this map, the value of any point is just the sum of all the pixels that are above it and to its left.
So why on earth would you do that? Because this map gives you a superpower. It lets you calculate the total pixel value inside any rectangle of any size by just looking up 4 numbers on your map. That's it. A giant rectangle that might have taken thousands of calculations now takes just 4. This was a complete and total game changer for speed.
Okay, so now they're blazing fast, but they're still doing a lot of work on parts of the image that are obviously not a face, like a blue sky or a brick wall. So the third and final idea was to be lazy, but smart lazy. They created what's called a cascade of classifiers. The best way to think about it is like a series of security checkpoints at an airport, going from easy to hard.
So here's how it works. A window from the image comes up to the first checkpoint, which might only check for 2 super simple features. Is this patch of the image obviously a blank wall? If so, reject it. It gets thrown out immediately. The vast majority of the image gets discarded right here, which saves a ton of time. Only if it passes does it move on to a tougher check, maybe one with 10 features. This keeps going down the line through about 6,000 features in total. A spot on the image is only called a face if it can survive every single stage of this cascade.
So you put these three amazing ideas together and you've got yourself a revolutionary algorithm. But of course, in the real world, no tool is perfect, and this one definitely had its own blind spots.
The original Viola-Jones was trained mostly on pictures of faces looking straight ahead in good light. So it kind of struggles when a face is turned to the side, or if the lighting is bad, or if part of the face is covered by sunglasses or a scarf. It was a brilliant answer, but for a very specific question.
And this points to a universal truth in all of machine learning. Your algorithm is only as good as the data you feed it. There's this legendary story about the Pentagon trying to train an AI to find hidden tanks. It worked perfectly on their test photos, but was a total failure in the real world. You know why? Turns out all the pictures with tanks were taken on cloudy days, and all the pictures without tanks were taken on sunny days. The AI hadn't learned to find tanks, it had learned to find clouds.
So where does that leave this clever algorithm from 2001? Is it just a cool museum piece now? Well, not exactly. Its legacy is absolutely enormous.
And if you just look at the raw numbers today, you can really see how things have evolved. A modern method like Google's media pipe is obviously way faster and much more accurate. No question, technology has moved on. But when you remember what Viola-Jones was accomplishing on the hardware of its time, it's still just incredible.
So here's the key takeaway. While it might not be the star player on the team anymore, its core ideas are foundational. In fact, because it's so incredibly fast at throwing out the obvious non-faces, it's still sometimes used as the very first step in more complicated modern systems. It quickly clears out the junk so the big, powerful AI models can focus only on the spots that matter.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. The story of Viola-Jones isn't just about finding faces. It's a story about ingenuity winning out over brute force. It's a great reminder that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs don't come from just having more power, but from finding a new, clever way to look at the problem. It really makes you wonder, what impossible problem of today is just waiting for its own clever shortcut?